Hey everyone, Ruben Colombe here with Colombe Credit Repair Services, and today we're going to talk about how your credit scores are determined, the different factors that go into determining your credit score. And I got a few notes here just so that I stay on track, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. So 35% of your score is based off of your payment history. So that is a huge chunk of your credit score. That's why it's so very important that you're making your payments on time, whether they're your auto loans, home loans, credit card payments, anything. You want to make sure you're paying those on time because that 35%, that is a huge chunk. And especially if it's a newer, late payment, that is really going to hurt your score. And they do, depending on if it's a mortgage payment or credit card payment, there's a certain amount of time that they affect your score negatively, and that will be another video that I'll get into a little later down the line. But so it's very important. And one thing about late payments is the 30-day lates. It doesn't mean if you pay 2-3 days late that it's going to be considered a late payment on your credit report. I'm sure you will get your late payment fees through the company, but not until you're at that 30-day mark will it affect your credit. It's going to be reported as a 30-day late. And obviously, go into 60-day lates, 90-day lates, it's going to be terrible for your credit score. And usually after 90 days or 120 days of not paying, that's usually when your card will go into a charge-off mode and you'll get a collection, and that will affect your score even more, and we'll get into that. So consistent on-time payments every month will help your credit score tremendously. So every month that you're making those payments on time, it's going to help your score. You know, it might just be 1 point a month, but that 1 point makes a huge difference in the long run. So keep that in mind. Make reminders for those payments. You know, have a set date that you make all those payments. Obviously, life happens, and you might be in some financial difficulty. If that's the case, call these companies and let them know. Try to work something out before just not making that payment, because nothing hurts worse than those late payments. And credit card companies and any loan you have, they're willing to work with you. So don't be afraid to call. Don't just stick your head in the sand. Call those companies and get it taken care of. So the other thing is the amount that you owe on your loans, credit cards, home loans, and so forth. That is 30% of your score. So the higher amount you owe, the more balance you use, available balance that you use on your credit card scores, that's going to hurt you. So you want to keep those balances very low. Obviously, if it's a home loan or a car payment, there's no real balance. You're paying off that every month. And so that's the second most important factor. And what happens is when you're using all of your credit or a majority of your credit, available credit, that's a red flag for lenders. That shows that you are relying on those credit cards to survive, basically, that you need those credit cards, you're not making enough money, or you're spending your money frivolously on other things that you have to use your credit cards to pay for things. And that is a huge red flag, because if you're getting a home loan and you're being supported by those credit cards, they're going to look at that and be like, how are they going to pay their home loan if they're maxing out all their credit cards? So it's very important to keep those balances very low. And the magic number is keeping the usage of your available balance below 30%. And that's average of all your credit cards. So let's say you have $1,000 available balance between 3 credit cards. You want to make sure that you're only using $300 all around on all those credit cards. Not each credit card $300, but only $300 in total on those credit cards. I tell all of my clients, get it below 20%. Have that little, blanket there, that safety net, keep it below 20%. That's why I tell everyone, but 30% is that magic number, but go to 20% because that'll put you in really good habits as well. So your credit card utilization ratio is, like I said, is the total amount. So it averages your total balances between all your cards and the amount they are using between all of your cards, and that just determines your average. And you want to keep that very low, like I said. Even if it's paid down dramatically every month, let's say you max out the card and you pay it off completely every month, it might still show up as you have a maxed out card, because the credit card companies, they have certain days that they report to the credit bureaus. So let's say they report to the credit bureaus on the 15th of every month, but you don't make your payment, it's not due until the 20th. It's going to report as a full balance. So it's a good idea to call the credit card companies and find out when they do report to the bureaus, so that if you are maxing out your card every month, whether it's for points or whatever, that you make that payment before they actually report to the credit bureaus, because you may think you're helping yourself out by paying down the full balance, but maybe you're not, because it's going to show up as you using your full balance. So it's very important to do those things and be on top of those things. And the next item that goes into determining your credit score is your credit history and the amount of new credit that you have. This accounts for 15% of your credit score. So not as high as the others, but it is a significant amount. So creditors, they want to see a long history of good credit history. So if you only have 2 years of a credit history on your reports, that's not giving your lenders, very much to go on. They want to see a much longer history. They want that average between all your accounts to be really long. They want to see that, for the past 7 years, you've maintained good credit. You made your payments on time. And every time you add a new card, that brings down that age of credit history. So it's not a good idea to always get new cards. I know when you go shopping, you go to the store, they're like, oh, you could save 10% if you get a card today and you pay it. You really don't want to do that. If you have the cash, you have the funds, use cash. You don't need that new credit card, because it's going to hurt your score. Plus, it adds to that owed balance from, keeping that ratio below what we talked earlier. Now, on the other hand, this is kind of a double-edged sword here. On the other hand, adding that credit card and you not using it will also help, because it increases that available balance. So it's a tough balancing act, but my suggestion is just not to get the credit card if you don't need it, because you want to keep that credit history very, very long. With that said, obviously the older accounts, the better. That's why you don't want to close any of your old accounts. Let's say you have a card to Home Depot. You have a Home Depot credit card, but you haven't used it in months, and you don't foresee yourself using it. Don't close it, because you still want that reporting. Some people think that if they close a credit card, it's going to help their score, but it hurts their score because they're losing that, credit history. So even if you're not using the card, keep it open. Don't get rid of the card. I mean, if it's something where you're afraid of using it, cut the card up, but keep the account open. And so too many accounts opened in a short amount of time is also a red flag to lenders, because it shows them that you need the credit. You might not. You might just like having the credit cards to spend at the stores, to get those discounts and those points. But if you open way too many in a short period of time, that's going to look very bad to any lender, whether it's a credit card company or you're shopping for a home mortgage or an auto loan. So a good practice is, if you need to get a new credit card or want a new credit card, or you want that old Navy card, only get one every 6 months, because that's just a good time frame. You don't want to get 5 cards in a 1 month period. That will totally kill your score. The other factor is a good credit mix. That accounts for 10% of your score. So what I'm saying with a good credit mix is, you don't want to have just credit cards on your credit reports. You also want to have those, auto loans and those home loans on there. Obviously, not everyone, is in a position to have a home loan. You might be a renter. But if you just have credit cards, that's not really helping you out. You want a mix of different accounts. So you could have 5 credit cards in your auto loan or 2 auto loan. That's great. That's perfect. But like I said, if you only have an auto loan on your history, chances are, you're going to have a hard time, even with the score, to get a home loan, because they're not seeing those recurring payments from other types of accounts. And another factor that a lot of people don't understand, and I get a lot of questions on, is inquiries. So if you don't know what inquiry is, it means, every time you apply for something, the banks, they'll check your credit reports and they send for that. So that adds an inquiry on your credit report showing that so-and-so bank looked into your credit reports. And 10% might not seem like a lot, but it is a big chunk. And so you want to keep your inquiries low, and that's why it comes down to not applying for all these credit cards at once, because it stacks up those inquiries, and you want to keep those very low. And that's another red flag to lenders, that you're doing everything you can to get any more credits. Now, the other thing is, people get worried about, that I get a lot of questions, is they come to me, they say, hey, I went to get an auto loan, and all of a sudden there's 6 inquiries they're showing up now. And don't be afraid of that. What the credit bureaus do, they understand that when you're shopping for a home loan or you're shopping for, an auto loan, those banks, the dealership, and they're gonna send your information off to a number of banks and see what comes back. And this is called shotgunning. So if you can imagine that they just shoot it out to all these banks and see what comes back. And the bureaus look and they know that, okay, he's shopping for a home loan, so we'll only count this as one inquiry. You might have 5 or 6 because you're shopping for a home loan, but the credit bureaus will only count that as one because they know of this shotgunning that the banks do. And so that's why it's good practice, if you're shopping for a home loan or an auto loan, you do it all within a 30-day period. Because if you're shopping for a home loan in August, and then you don't find something you like, or you don't get approved, and then you do it again a couple months down the line, you're still going to get those inquiries. So you want to do it in the 30-day span, and that's kind of your how they incorporate the whole shotgun method there. So those are all the factors that go into determining your credit score. So I hope I answered a lot of your questions. A lot of, and that's completely different. Your credit score is completely different than your credit reports. Your credit score is basically your grade, like, A plus and, something like that. And your credit report is actually, the test, what's on there, what homework didn't you turn in? So your credit score and credit reports are 2 completely different things. Obviously, your credit report is how it determines the score, but they are 2 completely different things. So that's about the information about how the credit scores are determined. So now, if you got a lot of information out of this video, you like this video, please hit the like button on the video here. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the video here. And also, I am going to put my link in the description for my Facebook business page. So if you want to have more information, because I am going to do lives every week on these topics. What's going to happen is these videos on YouTube are going to come out once a week, and then that same week I'm going to do a live broadcast on the Facebook page. So that way, if you have any other questions, you can write them in there live and I can answer them live. Even if they're not related to the topic, I could definitely help you out. So, and if you have friends that you know that they have a lot of questions about credit, or they have bad credit, feel free to link them to this video. Share this video on Facebook. I would absolutely love that. And I'm going to put a link to, like I said, the link to the Facebook page, as well as a link to my websites, where if you have any questions, you can email me, or like I said, leave them in the comments and I'll be able to help you out. So hope you got a lot of information, enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys next time.